Uh-oh.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? No? Hello? Hello? Hi. Hmm. I can hear you.
I can hear you. I can't see the chat.
I can't see the chat.
Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you.
Restless spirits have disrupted your transmission. Oh no. Here we go. Monty says he hears one of us. I wonder which one it is.
Hello, is this me?
Monty, can you hear her?
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
I can.
I can hear all of you.
Okay, can they hear me now?
I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, can you hear me on the stream? Having the worst luck today. There you go. Okay, so Monty, you can hear me?
Yay.
What is going on in my hair today? All right. Okay, we are having a lot of technical difficulties today because apparently Jackey is haunted. And now I'm haunted. So we are here to talk about Manos today for Ghouls Night Out. Does everyone want to introduce themselves and talk about how you are involved with Manos?
I'm Jackey Neyman Jones, and I played Debbie in the original MANOS, The Hands of Fate, in 1966 when I was 6 years old. So I always say, you do the math. I'm an artist. And I'm a professional artist, but my dad played the master, and my dog was in it. He played the Doberman.
Not the little
My
poodle. Not the little poodle. The scary dog.
Oh, no. The poodle was Hal Warren, the guy who wrote and directed it, his little dog. And he wasn't a very nice little poodle. He was kind of snappy. So I wasn't at all sad when he didn't go through the rest of the movie. Oops, sorry.
Spoiler alert.
But, yeah, and my mother made all the costumes. I mean, I still have clear memories of my parents laying it out on the living room floor. My dad did all the artwork, too, the hands, the sculptures, the painting. So I always like to say Manos to me is kind of like a home movie.
Yeah, it's a big part of your family. How is everyone else here involved with Manos? Because there's a lot more to Manos than just the first film. Tonjia.
Well, I'm Tonjia Atomic. I directed MANOS RETURNS, which is the sequel, and we all three co-wrote it and co-produced it with Joe Sherlock, who's our other producer. And I had a bit part in it as Bride 3, and yeah, that's how I'm involved in the Manos world, the Manos verse.
And Rachel, do you want to explain this?
Yeah, I mean, as much as anyone can explain that, right?
It's an experience that can't be explained.
Yeah. I made Manos the Hands of Felt, which is a puppet musical reimagining of Manos, with the backstory thrown in just to make it extra complicated. And it was born of a very bad pun that my husband and I did one night. And also, I've loved Manos since I first saw the MST3K episode of it way back when I was in high school. That was I saw it live when it first aired, and it really stuck with me. So yeah.
That's awesome. So we have these 3 movies. There's also, I know there's a prequel about Torgo, but those are the 3 movies we're going to focus on today. There's also, there's a conversation with Jackey Neyman. Guys, if you want Manos stuff, there's so much Manos. There's so much Manos, and Manos is not stopping. Like, Manos is a train that's just going to keep on rolling. Like, I think Mystery Science Theater, got that train rolling, but now it's a crazy train. It's a runway train. Nobody's going to stop it. There's going to be Manos stuff until long after we are all gone. Manos will outlive us all.
The interesting thing is, from the beginning, when it was named in 1993 as the worst movie ever made, and there's a whole story around that, but it took off, and then it went up, and then every time it's gone to this different level, and when it's over, I'm like, well, that was fun, that was great. I mean, I'm always satisfied, and then all of a sudden something else happens and goes higher and higher, and that's how I met Rachel and Tonjia, and it's just crazy. Now the future of Manos, besides Manos Returns, is there's the official trading card series, Mystery Science Theater trading card series, and I'm an artist in that series, and then the Debbie Chronicles, which is an upcoming web series that's going to be filming later.
Are you playing Debbie?
Yeah, I'm Debbie.
I think the only person other than you who's ever played Debbie is Rachel, right?
Right, I think.
I think so.
Because
Awesome.
Yeah,
I play the character of Debbie, who's escaped the Valley Lodge and is now battling supernatural evil.
Wow, so she's become her own Buffy the Vampire Slayer in the world of Manos. Because I was worried about Debbie, honestly. I want to get into some Manos questions here, because I was a little worried about Debbie at the end of Manos. So, but before I get into talking about...
Manos Returns is a whole different story, right?
Yeah. Before I get into talking about the movie, though, I want to know how you all were inspired by Manos. I mean, you've all created things in this Manos universe. What about this film inspired you to create?
Well, I first heard about the film through Rachel, because Rachel and I have known each other for years now. And she was doing the Hands of Felt, and that's how I first heard about it. So I wanted to watch it and do a little research on it before going to see the play so that I would get all the jokes. And that was really important to me. And so when I saw it, I got a lot of the jokes, but since I didn't know a lot of the backstory, then there was still some stuff I missed, but it was still really enjoyable. It's a really enjoyable play. Musical. And that's how I actually got introduced to it. I've loved Mystery Science Theater for years, but I just had never caught that one. But oddly enough, I was introduced to Jackey through a different person, and we got along really well. We have a lot in common. We got along really well, and so it just made sense that we would get together and make the sequel.
Yeah, I love the text message when Jackie's like, "Hey, we're thinking about Tonjia Atomic as a director. Do you know her by any chance?" And I'm just like, yeah. We used to work at the same place, and I've known her for a really long time. She'd be perfect for what we're doing.
And she's the best name
at the
ever.
time I wasn't involved.
And she was. I mean, our production team we were just so great together, all of us. The way we worked together and the different things that we brought to the film, and that we got to be in it, except for Joe, because he's the guy behind the camera. Sorry, Joe. That's what he prefers.
Yeah, I think he likes it that way.
I don't know. I'm so proud of what we did, and the fact that we got my dad to do it, and Master got to be the master again. And it was just, a couple of years before he passed. So the timing worked wonderfully. And he had such a great time. Oh, God, the cast party. I just had visions of that. And him, just how happy he was. Things like that.
I mean, I know it's considered to be one of the worst movies of all time, but he's one of the better parts of it. He's genuinely creepy, and he has a presence. And that's kind of one of the things I want to ask you about is, do you really think this is the worst movie of all time? Is it really a guilty pleasure, or is there more to Manos than that? Is it important to you because it's bad, or is there a deeper thing here that you think people are maybe missing out on?
Good.
You guys just jumped on everyone.
I mean, I will say this. I feel like both things. Yes, I do think it is one of the worst movies ever made because it fails on almost every count, except the soundtrack maybe, which I know some people like to debate on that. I like the soundtrack, but I do really feel like the performances, specifically Tom's performance as the master, and John Reynolds as Torgo, I feel like those are the two things that elevate it. They take it from being a bad movie that you just forget about and make it a bad movie that just sticks with you.
Yeah, I would agree. There's definitely technical issues that are wrong with it. I mean, that happens in some other, low budget independent features as well. But there's a lot of technical aspects. Although I did notice, because I've seen the movie so many times now while I was researching.
Yeah.
But I did notice there are some actual good shots in it. A few times. There's a couple good shots. But the way it's put together, it isn't put together very well. And then there's a few focus issues, which I don't know if those were supposed to be in it or not. A few lighting issues, stuff like that. But there's also, the way it's put together, it is sort of disjointed. And even though I have seen it, probably over 100 times, I really have lost count at this point. But even though I've seen it so many times, I can't remember, exactly what order things happen sometimes. I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember this scene, but I don't quite know if it's before this other scene or not. And I think that has to do with just the way it's put together and the pacing and stuff. And it's just awkwardly put together. But that said, I have heard from other people that they consider something to be the worst of all time. It would have to have some sort of offensive message to it, which this doesn't really have. It's made for entertainment purposes, not propaganda or anything like that. So, and I think that's a valid argument. I mean, this isn't trying to teach people to hate anyone or anything like that. It's made for entertainment purposes, and there are things that stand out. Like Rachel said, the acting, and a couple of shots I think are really good. Some of the artwork and the costumes, which I know, Jackie, that was your mom and dad, but some of those things stood out as well. So it's like there's nuggets of gold within, a pan of dirt or something. I don't know. I'm losing my metaphor, but you know what I'm trying to say. There's moments that shine.
Yeah. Yeah, Manos is, I wrote a book about it.
I have that book, actually.
5 stars on Amazon, I'm proud to say.
It's great. If you guys want to know about Manos, you need to read this book. It has everything.
So, for instance, what Tanya said about the shots of, those good shots, Bob Guidry, the cameraman, he was actually quite good. He didn't have the greatest equipment to work with, what they were able to rent with the Bell and Howell. And most of the actors didn't realize it was all being shot silent, especially me. Did you know that all the women, including my voice, was dubbed by one woman?
Uh-oh. Hold on a second. Okay, can you guys hear me? What just happened? I can't hear you guys now. Oh my goodness.
Right?
Okay, there we go. I can hear everybody now.
Yes?
Sorry about that.
Yes, okay.
I didn't know where I lost you, but Bob Guidry, who was the cameraman, he was actually, pretty talented, and his partner, who was still alive when I was writing my book, and I got to talk to him, who played the kissing Bernie Rosenblum, who played the kissing teenager in the car as well. He was the assistant cameraman. He said that he and Bob would try to sneak in artistic shots when Hal wasn't paying attention. And pretty much everything had to be used, everything that they shot, because it was literally shot in 8 days, nights and weekends, because everybody worked full time. So they pretty much had to use everything. And that's but I think what people love, one of the things that I've learned over the years that people love so much about it is the earnestness that it was made with. And I just got to show you this, show and tell.
Oh,
this
wow.
is an award in 1966, 1967 to my dad for the local community theater where he and John Reynolds met to begin with. They were both actors in the local community theater, festival theater. And my dad, he won Best Actor Award for that year.
Wow. That's
That
awesome.
is so cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah, so there were talented people, and John Reynolds was certainly one of them. The wives all came from the local modeling school, and they had no idea what they were getting themselves into. And out of all 6 of them, I did a lot of research in my book, and I found 3 of them. One of them did not want to talk to me, and that's okay. But another one, she actually still lives in El Paso, and her name is Isela Garcia, and she and we talk fairly often. She's an artist too, and we're pretty good friends.
Did they remember you?
Oh yeah.
When you were little? Oh,
Yeah.
that's so cool. Wow,
nice.
that's awesome. So, I mean, this movie's really grown, like, with you and your family. Like, it's such a personal, like, part of your world. And I think that translates to the screen. I think even though there's a lot of technical aspects of it that don't really work, I think people sense, like a love or a passion, or maybe I think some movies have a soul. And I think Manos has a soul. So,
It does. It's like from the very beginning, so at the premiere, everybody got dressed up. Oh my God. People, their tuxedos and gowns or red carpet. Hal Warren, he borrowed lights from the local car dealership to scan the skies.
oh, wow.
He had the marquee at the historic Capri Theater in downtown El Paso. He called. All the dignitaries were there, the mayor and all the press. I mean, this guy knew how to market. And so we all go into the theater, and the movie starts, and right away, people start, like, you hear mumbles, and you hear laughing, even before the oh man. I remember this. I'm just 6 years old, and we were 5th row center. My dad wanted to make sure that we had a good view, so we're literally trapped in this theater. And people start laughing, and I'm still mostly focused on seeing myself. And then I come on the screen, and my mouth opens, and this horrible voice comes out.
Oh, no.
Nobody told the little kid it was dubbed. So I just started crying. I cried through the whole thing.
Oh,
and so the theater, anyway, it was so bad that the theater canceled the rest of the 2-week run.
Oh, wow.
They're like, no.
That's a memorable first way to see Manos.
And the local entertainment writer, Joan Coram, she was such a fan of my dad. And the fact that John Reynolds had just killed himself a month before. People were sympathetic, and they just kind of stayed silent on it. They didn't write about it. I mean, they were very kind, just not to say anything. So I grew up with all these wonderful memories and stories as the best summer of my young childhood. I was the only kid on set. It was so much fun. And then 27 years go by, my high school friends still remember me telling Manos stories in school. 27 years go by, I'm married, I have kids, 1993, and my dad calls me. He's living on the coast in Oregon, and he says, "You will never believe what I just saw on television." So it was the master that said that. And anyway, it was already over. He'd already seen it. So it was on Comedy Central, and they have an 800 number. So I called the 800 number on the screen, and this guy named Matthew answered, and he identified himself as being in the HBO offices in Manhattan. And I said, "You just played a movie that my whole family was part of, and I've been looking for my whole life. Is there any way I can get a copy?" And he asked the name of it, and I told him. And he said, I said it was Manos, The Hands of Fate. And there's this long pause, and I'm shaking. I thought he was hung up on me, And he goes, "Oh my God, are you Debbie?"
That's awesome.
And that's how I found out. I still have that. He sent me a bootleg VHS copy, and I still have. That's the first copy But I watched it, and I was happy, and I thought that was over. I was just happy. That's it, And then it became famous. I don't know.
And Rachel, you said the first time you saw it was at the Mystery Science Theater premiere, right? What was that like?
Yeah. I mean, it was late at night. I was in high school, 1993. That would have been my junior year. Yeah, and there was this guy I was dating, and he introduced me to Mystery Science Theater. That the relationship did not last long, but the Mystery Science Theater love lasted much longer than the relationship. So coincidentally, his name was Joel. So that made watching it after we broke up a lot of fun for me. It's just like, yeah, Jules in space, jerk. Yeah.
Being tortured.
But yeah, we were watching, it was on at midnight where I lived in Missouri, and yeah, we were watching it, and it's so funny. I don't remember the whole thing from then, even though, like Tanya, I've now seen it at least 30 times without the MST3K riffing. I've seen this movie so many times. But yeah, I very much remember the magnetic man in the robe with the hands on it. That just stuck with me forever and ever and ever. Which is, yeah, why the master puppet was so, like, when my husband and I did the bad pun, Manos, the Hands of Felt, like, the thing that popped into my head was the master in Muppet form. And it was just like, whoa, this could work. Yeah.
Anything Muppets, I think, is good. Absolutely. I love this movie. If you guys haven't seen it yet, you can get this on Amazon, but it's Manos with puppets. It's pretty much the best thing ever. It's like, they all look like Sesame Street characters, and they're just adorable. Now I want to ask you guys, I have some burning questions about this movie, because even though I've seen this movie a lot, there are things I don't quite understand, and since I have the experts here, I would love you guys to chime in and explain a few things to me. For starters, what are the Hands of Fate? Like, is it a god? Is it the devil?
When Hal Warren wrote the script and approached my dad, he had the original title of the film was Fingers of Me.
Oh.
And he approached my dad, showed him the script, and asked him to play the lead. And my dad was an artist, and at the time, he actually had a lot of hand art, sculptures. I mean, that was his specialty. He did beautiful hand sculptures, and so anyway, he was able to use a lot of his existing artwork in the film, and he made the Torgo staff. So look, this is not the original, but I'm an artist, so I created it.
Looks like
and,
it.
This one we made, I made it just the way my dad did, out of cold rolled steel and a welding torch.
I love how some families pass down recipes. Your family has passed down how to make the staff. That is amazing.
Right, just because I was in his studio when he made it, he made me put on welding goggles so I could watch.
That's awesome.
As a 6-year-old. Yeah. So, where was I going with that?
What are the Hands of Fate? What are they?
What are they?
So my dad was the one that came up with the title Manos, the Hands of Fate, and he did it
which is Spanish for hands, in case anyone doesn't know. Right. Manos.
What's redundant? The Hands of Fate.
Yeah.
And he did it kind of as a joke, and Hal Warren went for it, and so it stuck.
Yeah, the original title was something about an evil lodge or something, wasn't it?
What's that?
The original title was something about an evil lodge or something like that, as I recall. But yeah.
It may have been, but Fingers of Fate was what Hal was settling on at that point.
So, Tanya, what do you think the Hands of Fate are?
What's that?
Tanya, what do you think the Hands of Fate are? What is your explanation?
I think the Hands of Fate. Well, Manos is the deity that everyone is worshiping, and I think the Hands of Fate have something to do with how Manos has this reach where he can reach out and bring these unknowing travelers into the lodge and kind of seals their fate of doom. That's what I think.
I like that. Rachel, what is your thought?
Ooh, what are the Hands of Fate? I mean, there's some
evil?
level. I mean, I like Tanya's answer, but I might,
Do you think they're evil?
I do think they're evil for sure. Yeah, sadly, it's funny. We thought about this a lot when we were writing Manos Returns, because we wanted to have straight in our heads what is the mythology here. So we actually gave a lot of thought to like what are Manos's powers, blah blah blah. But yeah, I would say, what with the fact that the master has to have so many wives and stuff come in, I wonder if sort of they're part of the hands of fate, like you use your hands to further Manos's will.
Does it kind of feel okay? I've always thought the whole thing felt a little like kind of like Greek mythology, with like all the ladies in the white robes in the temple, and like it felt kind of like Manos might be like a Zeus type thing, but I'm pretty sure Manos is evil. I think Zeus might have been evil. We're getting into a way off topic thing. Okay, on this show we talk about women in horror, on the screen, behind the screen, and characters. And so of course the big female characters in this, obviously there's Debbie and her mom, but there's also the wives. There's a buttload of wives. Like, this was a whole polygamous thing, like way before like that was even a thing with like reality TV shows. So the master, he's got all of these wives. There's the first wife, and she's all right. She doesn't want to kill kids. But then there's all these other wives, and they drive him up the wall. They fight like crazy. So I have some questions about the wives. And Tonjia and Rachel have played wives in Manos Returns. So I definitely think you're going to offer some insight here that's going to clear up for everybody, how the wives contribute to this world. So how do the wives serve the master and Manos?
Well, I think Rachel was onto something, as they're sort of like the hands of Manos. They can actually go out and act for Manos. I don't know exactly what in our movie in Manos Returns. It had time had passed, and the wives had sort of broken away and kind of gone off on their own and just found ways to entertain themselves, all evil ways.
Master isn't there anymore.
But during the time of the master, before he had transcended, I don't know exactly what they were doing, but I know it was not good.
Do you think the first wife was with the master before he died, before he transcended, or did he acquire the wives after his death?
Oh, you mean the present wife? Because the original,
because he has one that calls herself the first wife. She's the blonde one who doesn't want to kill Debbie.
Right.
So was she around when he was still alive, you think? Or did these wives come after he became the master?
I just assumed they were all after, personally, but I don't know that for sure.
I assumed that too, but now this raises a question I never thought about. But yeah, I just assumed the master, just started collecting wives as he was collecting different beings, different spirits for the lodge to kind of feed on. And then he just, picked the ladies he liked and made them his wives. And that's kind of what I thought was happening.
And my other question about the wives, I mean, we see that, Debbie's family, they just kind of stumble into Valley Lodge by happenstance. Like, they didn't intend to go there. They just needed a place to stay. Do you think these wives all happened to be, drawn to the manor, inadvertently? Or did he go out and find them? Are these all people who just ended up there like Debbie and her family? Or are these people that maybe he sought out?
I totally think they all got sucked in. I think that's
so too.
Yeah.
I
think it's
if you watch the beginning carefully, which I don't know why anyone would, but if you do, you see. Well, it's like a lot of driving, but that's part of it. The driving is part of it because he gets
the audience
lost.
is cracking up, and
Yeah, I think that's part of Manos's power. I think he draws people in to get them lost in the desert in the original movie, in the Oregon woods in our sequel.
It's like the Bermuda Triangle. It's just kind of sucks you into where you need to go.
Yeah.
So all these women were probably, on a vacation. Some vacations are good, but this one's going to be great. Sorry, it's my favorite part of the movie. Right at the end there, guys.
Yeah, the two ladies at the end, spoiler alert, I assume they wind up as wives.
Yeah, probably.
Yes.
And then I have to wonder too, is it the Master's, does the Master even want these wives? Because the Master seems somewhat annoyed by them. And he doesn't, we never see him be affectionate or physical with the wives, so I don't feel like he's getting anything like pleasurable out of it. But they do say in the film that the Master, or not the Master, Manos loves women. So is that why the Master is collecting the wives? Because Manos wills it.
For Manos.
That makes sense.
Could be.
That makes sense. It's for Manos' pleasure. It's not for the Master's pleasure.
So he just has to put up with them.
Torgo's pleasure.
Yeah, because Torgo, I mean, that's one of his big complaints in the movie is there's no wives for him. But I think in a sense, the Master doesn't really have wives either. He has to deal with all their bickering, but he doesn't get any thing, that he wants out of these relationships. And then it makes me wonder, too, why does Manos hate children and men? Like, what's up with Manos? Why doesn't Manos because, they mentioned that Manos doesn't like kids. Why have so many wives if you don't like kids?
Why did Debbie end up as the future bride? That's
I'm going to ask you about that in a bit, too. I have questions. Burning questions.
Yeah, I think you're right about the Master is getting the wives for Manos because he isn't really keen on them. He gets annoyed with them for sure.
Can you blame him?
It's almost like he's taking care of them, grudgingly.
Even though Torgo is the caretaker, but Manos is like he's the boss, or he's not in a very happy management position.
Yeah, I feel like the Master is kind of like the shepherd of this flock of wives, but they are Manos' wives. They're not his wives necessarily.
Why would you be happy in that job? That doesn't sound
No, I can't see why. And then I have a question for Jackey. At the end of this movie, so I mean, there's a lot of debate throughout the film between the wives about whether or not they should kill Debbie, which, by the way, even though a lot of movies don't pass the Bechdel test, Manos passes the Bechdel test because they have these conversations about whether or not to kill Debbie. So this is high-quality feminist entertainment right here. You can put that on the box cover.
Sure.
So at the end of it, Debbie isn't killed. We see a cutaway when Debbie's father goes to confront the Master. And then in the next scene, Debbie's mother is a bride. And Debbie is dressed as a bride. So is she a child bride of Manos?
Apparently so. That's just creepy as hell. And then, if you go deeper into that, it's like in real life, the one who's supposed to be the husband is in real life my dad.
You're hurting my head.
It's creepy,
How are you not more scarred? Like,
out.
You hear people all the time talk about what Linda Blair had to go through. Like, what have you suffered, Jackey? You were a child bride.
Yeah,
to
right.
Manos.
Child bride.
Manos, the most handsy deity there is.
More understanding, I mean, you can understand why Debbie would become that person in Manos Returns, because she was raised by the bickering wives and knows what the hell happened to that poor kid.
And I have to ask, because, Rachel and Tanya, you played wives in Manos Returns. Do you have any idea why Manos hates children and men?
Well, I mean, what's to like?
Good points all around.
I mean, don't we all?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, really.
Again, adding into this whole Manos is feminist. Just saying.
I mean, I could see he just has no use for children. Like, what can children do for him?
Grow up to be wives.
Right. Sorry, what?
They can grow up to be wives.
Whoa. But yeah, I don't know why he doesn't like men. I just guess he's just not into men. He's a heterosexual god, I guess, which is okay. That's a thing.
I'm fine with this. So I feel like we all have this greater understanding of Manos, And I'm really happy about that. So now I want to segue into how does Manos the Hands of Felt, because it adds a few things to the Manos. How does it adapt the story of Manos?
Oh, okay. So when I did the bad pun and I had the vision of the master as a Muppet style puppet. And then the next morning I woke up and I had the idea that ta-da, the wife fight could.
I got this for my birthday like 2 years ago.
Really? Oh my god, yay. I had the idea that the wife fight could become the At the Dance segment that they used to have on the Muppet Show. So yeah, it just, ideas kept coming and coming for how the two things could go together. And I was discussing this idea with a guy I was doing music with at the time. And while I was talking to him, he said that I was talking about the backstory of how the movie got made just as much as I was talking about the movie itself. And so at the time I was thinking, it's like, do I just straight up remake Manos with puppets? Or do I do something complicated and like make it the backstory and the making of, and let's do all of the things and then songs? Yeah. Obviously I went the second route because if I can overcomplicate something, I definitely will always do that. Always.
See how much joy it's brought me? Like, it's brought me so much joy.
That's what made it genius.
I want to see it live.
Well, not right now, in any case.
Well,
someday that would be nice, but yeah, I would love to remount it someday because it was so much fun to do live. The audience was always just really into it.
Do you want to share some of the backstory and stuff that was in Manos the Hands of Felt that kind of deepened the story?
Sure. Well, I mean, one thing Tonjia mentioned when she talked about watching the movie to prepare to see it, I did as much as I could research into the making of the movie before I wrote the script. So there are a lot of Easter eggs in there, like the fact that the only original actor who got paid was Debbie, and she got a bicycle, or was Jackey. She got paid in a bicycle, and I include that in the Hands of Felt. And God, what was it was being the property with the columns on it was owned by someone named Judge Caldwell, and I name drop him in the middle of the script. Like I really tried to actually include real tidbits. There are a lot of Easter eggs in there if you know about the backstory of Manos.
That's awesome. So now we're gonna segue. Everyone who's watching this, like, you're welcome for how much your life is better now because you're learning all this stuff about Manos. Like, your appreciation for Manos has gone from maybe a 0 to like a 10. This is going to be your favorite movie before we're done here. So now, your favorite movie you probably haven't seen yet. I mean, I got to see Manos Returns at the world premiere, baby, at Crypticon. Which was amazing. It was a packed house and everyone had a great time, and I got to see all these lovely ladies talk. And what's incredible about this movie, I think, is even though the director was a man, like, there's so many women involved in this movie, in Manos Returns, in, like, I don't know, I feel like Manos is very much like a franchise. I'm gonna call it a franchise. Yeah, a franchise for the ladies is what it is. You know, you have a ghouls night out, you break out the wine, you put in Manos, obviously. Like, Notebook, what? I don't know what you're talking about. So, Manos Returns. I feel like there's probably a lot of people who haven't seen or maybe even heard of this movie. Tonjia, you are the director of Manos Returns. Do you want to explain what happens? Like, yes! I need that in my collection. What is the plot?
So Manos Returns takes place when we filmed it, which was 56 years later or something like that. Am I wrong on that? I don't. So it was
50 years later?
50 years later.
Yeah. And
then I think we released it like 54. So it's the second longest gap between original film and sequel. So we actually made it take place at that time. And we wanted to make a movie that stands on its own, that has its own story, its own characters and everything. But we also wanted to reference the original film But since the original film has a fandom through riffing, like Mystery Science Theater and riff tracks and things like that, we felt like we had to also acknowledge that when we made our film. So what we did was we took a similar story of travelers getting sucked in, because we've kind of figured that's Manos's game. You know, that's how he does it. He gets travelers lost, and then he kind of redirects them to the lodge, and sort of like Venus flytraps them in and takes them over. And so we thought, okay, well, we'll redo that same story because that is his MO. That's how he works. Or Manos, yes, is a he. Yes, right? Yes,
they
he
refer
is.
to him as
okay.
he.
So we have the travelers coming to the lodge and meeting Torgo and going through that. But then our story takes place so many years later, with Debbie having grown up in the lodge and becoming this character who's very filled with evil and darkness. And then we have Maggie, who has been stuck there, and in order to deal with it, she's kind of had to have sort of a mental breakdown. And so she's not completely within reality because it's too grim for her. So that's kind of the setup. And then things kind of progress from there, and I don't want to give anything away, but that's kind of the premise of our film.
Awesome. If you've seen Manos Returns in the chat, let me know. And also, Monty G, who also has a great channel, is in the chat. He's singing the praises for Torgo. Torgo is in Manos Returns. How does Torgo return?
Torgo, I don't know how much to tell because we have a idea. But basically, when you're in the lodge, it's not like reality. It's a little bit it's a lot of it supernatural. And, if you die in the lodge, you're not dead in the way we know it. Yeah. So your spirit can live. It's more of a spiritual realm, an evil spiritual realm, than one of physicality. So if you are in there, if your physical body perishes, your spirit may just live on in some way or another.
Be trapped there forever.
Yes, yeah. So we figured, Torgo, which I don't think it's clear what happens to Torgo in the original, but
it's getting his hand burned off. By the way.
Does get his hand burned off, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people think that means he died, which I disagree with.
So I always thought he died too, because we see the wives kind of like descend upon him.
To massage him to death, yes.
With their hands.
So he carries his burned hand around.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's Torgo's burned hand.
Yeah, it was fun cuddling up with that on the set. It's very cozy.
Oh, is it a keychain?
It's very
That's the hand of fate.
But he's trapped. But don't they make it like it's the hand that traps him? It's like burning off that hand, he can never escape.
That's how they get the power over him, yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a Jack Torrance in The Shining type thing. Like, if you're dead there, you're going to be there forever, and in possibly multiple different, like, time periods and stuff, because it's a weird kind of supernatural Bermuda Triangle, this Valley Lodge.
That's actually a good comparison, is, Yeah,
it is. It's like the Overlook in a lot Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, only smaller. Grungier.
Which makes me wonder, I mean, because I've always thought that the story, I mean, there's not a whole lot of story, but the story of Manos, and certainly the story that got I felt like enriched and deeper, because I feel like Manos Returns is a genuinely good movie. Like, not just like, the first one's kind of so bad it's good, but Manos Returns is a good movie. How do you feel about there being a Manos remake? Like, what would you think of a Manos remake? Like, if they remade it with a budget and, like, you know, fancied it up?
Well,
Get some, like, I don't know, William Dafoe to play the Master or something?
Oh my God.
Oscar-winning actors.
I mean, one of the things that we did on purpose was not make our movie too glossy because we didn't feel like it was appropriate. I would be interested to see something like that. I don't know. It boggles my mind, the idea.
Well, one of the things I get frustrated on a lot being a horror fan is I feel like a lot of times remakes happen and it's just like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. There's nothing wrong with Poltergeist. There's no reason to remake Poltergeist. You don't need to do that. There's a lot of great movies that just don't need to be remade, and yet they rush out these remakes, and then they wonder why people are just kind of like, I prefer the original, because there was nothing wrong with it. A lot of people, you know, there are some technical aspects to Manos, a lot of technical aspects to Manos, that just don't really work. So if you're going to remake something, that's one I'd be curious to see, I think.
yeah, because you can't do that on purpose. Manos wasn't a bad movie on purpose. Like, Hal Warren did the best he could with $19,000. He knew he wasn't making a good movie. He knew that. But he, as a marketing guy, a car salesman, and, you know, he felt that, insurance salesman, he felt that he can make enough of an impact to bring attention to El Paso, the beauty of El Paso, because honestly, there have been some pretty decent movies made in that area. It is beautiful. It was a great place to film. So his idea was, I'm not going to make a great movie to be known for, but I'm going to open the door to filmmaking in El Paso, and I'm going to benefit from it.
Which is great. I mean, Texas Chainsaw Massacre was made in Texas, and it was made for next to nothing, and, you know, it's still a fantastic movie today. But, yeah, I'd be kind of curious if somebody actually, like, I'm not talking about, like, a Sharknado here, like, where they're trying to make a so bad it's good film, because I don't know if that really ever works, because I don't think you can do it on purpose. But I would be curious to see somebody actually try to make a good remake of Manos, because there's a lot of elements in there that are very shining-like and stuff that I think have the potential to really connect to people in a way that's, you know, genuinely terrifying, you know, with maybe a bit of a budget.
Yeah.
I'd be curious.
It's a good basic story.
I think if someone did that, I think they would have to add a lot to it. And it would be different.
Like what? How will you need to make something like that work?
Well, I think, I mean, if you are going to go for the big budgets, like, looking kind of thing, I think that, I mean, first of all, the original movie is, I think, under an hour.
Yes.
Yeah.
Without the credits.
Yeah.
And also, there's a lot of scenes where not a whole lot is going on. So I just feel like they'd have to add a lot more dialogue, a few more scenes, some more action. And I think it would make it different just by design.
I think so too, and I think you ladies in particular have created such a tapestry, a foundation for this world that they could, you know, borrow from. They can take elements from Manos Returns and even Manos the Hands of Felt. You know, these things that have been added into this world that give it kind of a richness and a texture, and use that to, you know, develop the story more. I'm not saying I'm all for a Manos remake, but I'm just saying I'm not opposed to it. I think it could be interesting.
No, I think it could be fun. They just, the script is just, I mean, the script is short, like even shorter than the movie. We cut down the soundtrack for use in Hands of Felt, and when we cut out all the lines, we had like 35 minutes of music silent stuff going on. So it really had almost no dialogue in it in the first place. So that is definitely a thing. We'd need a B plot or something.
And
something.
Speaking of genuinely creepy things that are related to this world of Manos, so before we started our our Ghouls Night Out tonight, I was talking to Jackey, who I'm pretty sure has got me haunted now, and she was telling me how the Valley Lodge that they use for MANOS Returns is actually haunted, and they do ghost tours now? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, so the town, so it was filmed here near where I live in Western Oregon, and about 45 minutes out of Salem, Oregon. And there's this little town called Dallas, and a friend of mine owns a restaurant, and we were able to film upstairs of her restaurant, which is unfinished. And it's like the wallpaper's bubbled and peeling from, I don't know, how old are these buildings? Like the very early 1900s.
Wow.
And then, so yeah, they're doing ghost tours now of the entire downtown Dallas area because many of the buildings are actively haunted. It's weird. People have set cameras and actually seen things moving, like without anybody there. There's an instance of somebody, there was a box of old dishes in one of these upstairs places that was empty, and they went up the next day, and the dishes were stacked like impossibly. A dish, a cup, a plate, a cup. I mean, it was like weird shit like that.
Did you experience...
And that's the whole downtown. It's very interesting, and there was some bad stuff that went on in town in the 40s and the 20s, and yeah. I just heard so many stories. Anyway, they're starting ghost tours, and I can't wait to do the next one because I think they're going to take us upstairs where we film, and I can hear the actual stories. But ask Rachel and Tanya. We had a few things happen on set.
What happened on set?
Oh, gosh.
There was the thing that happened before I got there where a brick came flying out at
Right.
one of our PAs. I didn't witness that though, but I think Jackey, were you there?
Right, a brick kind of flew out of the wall because the walls are all like old brick, and they weren't covered on the inside, and yeah, he almost got hit.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, the time we all saw was that time that Christina, who plays Nikki, she was coming out of the bathroom. She walked in the room and closed the door, and the door had locked on her.
It was so scary.
She didn't lock the door, but it was locked, and she couldn't get out, and someone had to come and actually unlock it for her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, fortunately there were other doors into that room. There were like multiple doors into every room up there, and like it was because we all had been warned it was haunted, and so kind of everyone was ready for weird things to happen. And yeah, we grabbed flashlights and kind of went around, and someone was like standing by the door being like, "It's okay, we're all here, everything's fine." Yeah.
And we'd used that door before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Was there a scribbling thing?
Yes. Oh, that was a fun one. Yeah.
Yeah. I was there for that, and you were too, Rachel, right?
Yep. Yeah.
That was our sound guy was hearing like he said it sounded like someone was furiously writing. Mm-hmm. Like it wasn't a scratching, it was like a writing sound and like a scribbling, and he kept telling everybody to stop writing and to be quiet.
Yeah,
and he said it like 3 or 4 times and like finally yelled at everybody.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he's a great guy.
People. Yeah.
But yeah.
Nobody was...
And we were like, what the, we're not hearing anything. He was the only one hearing. He was catching it in his headphones.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I should add,
nobody else could hear it.
Part of why we thought it was a real person and not a ghost was that because it was an old building, we could hear things from one room to the next very, very well. Like if someone walked around in our green room makeup room, we could hear it in the room where we were shooting most of the time. So like quiet on the set kind of meant quiet and do not move on this floor of the building. So we were on day 5 or 6, and like everyone knew the protocol at that point, which is why people got short-tempered about it. It's like, hey, stop that. And yeah, then it turned out no one was doing a thing except, the ghost.
or whatever.
What did it
Yeah, or
feel
whatever.
like there? Like, what was the atmosphere there?
It was great. I mean, for us,
It's
everybody
creepy.
was
Yeah, it was creepy.
Creepy.
creepy, but I mean, all of us just handled everything so well. We were just getting our jobs done. There's good focus.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, you mean the atmosphere and the crew?
Oh, I
Oh,
just mean in
yeah.
general. I thought like I was talking about the house, but yeah, absolutely. You know, atmosphere of the crew too. Do you guys want to talk about what it was like to work with the people you worked with, like the actors? Obviously, Tom Newman, Neyman. Yes, there we go. Anyway, do you guys want to talk about your experiences on the set of Manos Returns?
I feel like we're all gonna say the same thing. I mean, it was such a great set. Everybody really got along. We're pretty, for the most part, all still friends, or at least friendly. And I mean, it was one of those lightning in a bottle experiences where everybody came and gave like more than what was expected, and everyone was really excited to be there and happy to be there. And I think it shows in the final product. And it's one of the best experiences I've had, where everybody truly was, there for the movie and there for each other as well. And like I said, I'm still friends with almost pretty much everybody.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it was an amazing group of people. Like it just, and thank God, because it was crazy. We shot this in 10 days in the middle of summer in Oregon in rooms where we had to board up all the windows so that no light would get in, and it was sweaty and hot, and we worked really long days, and so thank goodness. And everyone was doing like 3 jobs apiece at least, and some of the actors I guess were only acting, but that's enough. That's a job. But yeah, it was so wonderful that everyone was just great and there to help. Everyone was there to help as much as they could.
that's
Yeah,
awesome.
it was just such a blessing. I mean, meeting all these people, and my house was full, and we had people kind of camping out and hanging out. Still, she's got stories, I'm sure.
Jackie has a 1-bathroom house, and we were all staying in it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, 4 bedrooms, but 1 bathroom. My house was built in like 1906. It's old. But I have an 1.5 acres, so if you were going crazy, you could go outside and take a breath anyway.
There were people camping as well.
Oh yeah, we
Yard.
made it work. I mean, and it worked very well, and doing these communal meals, and so it's amazing. I mean, the original was filmed in 8 days, and we did this in 10. And I'm just so proud of everybody and what everybody brought to it, and the amazing people that I met. So my dad's part, we filmed that actually earlier, and at my friend Rick Zunk's house. He lives locally, and he has a little studio set up in his house, and he's a filmmaker, and he was a professional musician. He's got all this equipment, and he adores my dad. My dad lived in the same town as me, this tiny Oregon town of 1,000 people. So we knew each other, and Rick just cherished that opportunity. We did a set in his house, and I made a MANOS robe for my dad. Like my mom made. I go just the way my mama made the original.
That is so cool.
And he wore that, and we filmed it there at Rick's house. And but then at the end of the film, we had a cast and crew party at this local place here called the Breadboard. These 2 guys, John and Keith, opened this place with a 1,500 square foot wood-fired oven, and they do pizza. I mean, people come from Portland, people come from all over for their pizza, but they hosted us. And we had this wonderful party there, and I went to pick up my dad and bring him. He knew he was coming to the party, but he hadn't met everybody yet. And those are some of my favorite pictures ever me walking in and him seeing all these people and just feeling honored, like truly honored for doing Manos. And
Was your dad really, really proud of Manos?
No, not the original, but I'll tell you, my dad and I, his wife of 40 years didn't care for me. We had difficulties and didn't really have an opportunity to be together a lot. And for some reason, she approved of Manos related activities. So I made up a lot of Manos related activities. And MANOS Returns, for me, was kind of hatched out of that opportunity as well. And for me to see the joy he got from that, and the pleasure is worth everything.
So Manos has always been like kind of a tether between you and your dad.
Oh, absolutely. And I won't go into detail, but my dad was suicidal for my childhood, most of my life. And so, there's a lot of trauma. And really, that day when he called me and said, "You'll never believe what I just saw on TV." He's living on the Oregon coast, and he was doing handyman work at that point. And it was a Saturday afternoon, I believe. He was taking a nap in his easy chair watching MST, which he watched every week. He liked the show. And he was napping, and he heard some strangely familiar music. And he opened his eyes, and he saw himself.
Wow, that'd be surreal.
Fascination. He just watched it, and as soon as it was over, that's when he called me.
Wow.
Yeah, it definitely created something that we've had all these years.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And you thought that your mom was also involved in it. How does your mom feel about Manos, like after all these years? Is your mom? She was also involved in MANOS Returns, right?
2012, but she enjoyed hearing about it. I mean, she made the master's costume. She made my Debbie's dress. I mean, in those days, she sewed a lot. She made all of my clothes pretty much. She was a teacher. She's a professional teacher, grade school. And she made the wives' costumes. So the funny story in the wives' costumes is that, budget. So they bought this gauzy fabric for the wives to wear over their bras and underwear. And these were just 6 women that were brought from the local mannequin modeling school. So they really didn't know what they were getting into. They thought it was like a modeling job. And so they show up in their hand.
Never trust a modeling job.
What's that?
Oh, I just said never trust a modeling job. It's usually not what you think it is.
So when they realized their bra and panties were going to be showing through, they revolted. And so my mother came up with, with budget, some red fabric and cut strips. So the strips went down the front and like between their legs, under their panties. And so that was like the privacy or, chastity thing. I don't know. And anyway, they were talked into it. They never got paid. They didn't get anything. I got a bicycle with training wheels. My dog, the Doberman, got a 50-pound bag of dog food.
Oh, good for him. I think it's really funny how in MANOS, like, everyone's really upset. God, what is the dog's name? The poodle's name?
Peppy.
Yes. And Peppy's, in real life, Peppy was kind of a dick, guys. And that big scary Doberman, it was actually, according to the book, real sweet. So, looks can be deceiving. And I think MANOS, the looks of MANOS is deceiving. Like, it looks low budget, and it looks kind of cheap, but it's a movie, a feminist movie, with a lot of heart.
Anyway.
And I'm sure you all have seen MANOS. Obviously, there's the Riff Tracks version. There's the MST 3K version, which I think is the first one that I ever saw. Actually, my first time seeing that, I got that as a gift. People give me the coolest gifts. The MST3K version, that I think it's Santa Claus and the Martians. This is also really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have that one.
So that's how I was introduced to it. But that is, if you haven't seen it, it is streaming on Amazon Prime. Where can they find this wonderful movie? Oh, yeah, that's the exact one I have.
Oh.
Yeah, this is the one I had first too.
Yeah, that's what I have.
Manos the Hands of Felt. You can either rent or buy it digitally on Amazon through Video on Demand, and I do get some money from that. So hooray!
Cool.
And if you must have a physical copy, you can also order that through Amazon.com as well. Yeah. If you want a deluxe version, you would contact me directly at puppetmanos.com.
Wait, there's a deluxe version?
Yes, there's a deluxe version that has a commentary track. The cast and crew got together a bit after the show was over and had a lot to drink and did a commentary track.
Now
you can
we need the
basically
deluxe
listen to us deteriorate as we go. Yeah.
Now I have to have the deluxe version. I'm
Oh, no.
disappointed now.
I can hook you up with a commentary track. We can talk later. But if you go to puppetmanos.com, there are links to all of these options.
Puppetmanos.com.
One-stop shopping.
I'm
Yeah,
so
I'll put it in the
excited. I'm
comments.
checking that out as soon as this is over. All things puppets. All the
Yay.
time. I have, behind me, if you can see, there's Puppet Angel from Buffy. Puppets are pretty much the best thing ever.
Oh,
Yes, he's adorable.
How'd you get that? Oh my god.
A birthday gift. I get the coolest birthday gifts, but I'm a huge Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan, so a friend
That is a
tracked
pretty
it down
cool
for
birthday
me.
gift.
I love puppets.
oh, Shanka.
Me too.
Where can they find... Oh, hi, puppy!
He's
Oh.
named after the Doberman.
Oh,
His name is Shanka.
beautiful.
And now he's 7.
Where can they find Manos Returns?
MANOS Returns is available to stream on Amazon Prime. And it's available on some other streaming services and Roku channels, but I don't know all the ones right now. But I know it's on Amazon Prime, and that's probably the easiest place to find it. It's worldwide on Amazon Prime. And we do have a DVD coming out, but we had to push that because of all this stuff in the world going on, unfortunately. So that hasn't come out yet. But that should be relatively soon. I don't know.
Before Christmas, I hope. Like this calendar year.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Can we
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
the master puppet?
Sure.
Oh.
Feel free to talk. This will take a second.
I'm so excited. I love puppets.
So, just going back a little bit about the atmosphere at our
Yeah.
filming location in Dallas. So, I never had a problem because we always had all the studio lights going on. There were always people there. We were working. We had, stuff in our mind, filling our minds. We weren't sitting there being creeped out constantly. But there was one room, and Jackie and Rachel, I know that you know what I'm talking about. That is cool.
It's so cool.
There was one room, all the way to like one end that just felt really ominous and like oppressive and weird. And some of our cast got sick in that room, and I kind of weird in that room. And
Oh.
That's true. They felt
Yeah.
physically nauseous.
yeah, and Jackie, you were in that room before with Rick, and you felt kind of weird then too, right?
Yeah,
That's creepy.
yeah, that wasn't a good space. I have no idea. Maybe if I go on when I go on the ghost tour, maybe I'll learn more about it. All that.
So you're not scared
would
to go
love to know.
back? You're not scared to go back?
No, especially on a tour.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, I'm living with a hormonal young lady right now, and there's all kinds of weird shit going on. So I'm kind of used to it in my life.
Oh, this is Puppet Boris.
I burn a lot stage. I burn stage.
I have so many puppets.
Cute.
This is the little raven that's on the screen, the crow. That's him.
Oh, he's so cute. Aww.
Yay, master puppet.
Hello.
Oh, I got just a quick segue. Is a few years ago, I learned of a stage production of Monos in Portland, and it was a comedy, and they made a puppet of Debbie. The Debbie puppet played the character, and a big, oversized Doberman on little wheels that rolled across the stage. Mm-hmm. And the Debbie puppet, they would just toss her across the stage, so she'd like slide. But when they learned that I existed and I expressed interest, I was able to go to Portland for the 2-week run of the show, and I got to play my own voice.
That must have been a dream come true.
It was like perfect justice. Oh, I love it.
So, Rachel, how would you feel about doing more puppet adaptations of horror movies? Like,
I would feel okay about it, but like I'd have to be inspired by one of them first. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't just. I think if I was just like, yes, everything with puppets, it would get old and weird.
No, it wouldn't.
Oh, okay then. But it's also a lot of work building the puppet, so it helps if I'm like really, really into it.
You could have people sponsor the puppets, like adopt a puppet, and then after the movie, they could keep it.
Wow, that would be super cool. Boom.
Have you seen Plan 9 from Outer Space? Puppets! This is the best Ghouls Night Out ever. Little Master. Oh, he looks just like your dad. Torgo. Oh my gosh. Is that?
I thought about.
Hold on.
There's more.
This is the best thing I've ever. Is
that
you? Oh.
Yes.
And I think that speaks volumes because I think there's a little Debbie inside of all of us, which is where the title of the candies comes from. The snack cakes comes from that, because there is a little Debbie in all of us. Which it makes sense because those snack cakes were inspired by Manos, much like most of the art you've probably seen was.
That would be so weird.
I'm going to convince everybody in this chat that Manos is the most influential movie of all time before we're done. I love Master Puppet. Does he approve? Does he approve of Ghouls Night Out?
Those eyes, look.
I love beautiful women.
Yay!
Yeah. I love the master.
This is the best.
Oh, hey, responding to someone in the comments, I did make a Freddy Krueger puppet once as part of an art challenge at Crypticon Seattle. They had an iron artist, and the theme was Freddy Krueger mermaid. So I made a Freddy Krueger mermaid puppet in 2 hours.
Wow.
Oh, I've seen.
It was crazy. A friend of mine owns it now.
So yeah, some of the suggestions in the chat have been Plan 9 with puppets.
I would love that. I was in a live Plan 9 once, so
wow, really?
I'd be all over that.
That'd be great.
I think it should happen. You could Kickstarter that. People adopt the puppets, and then after, when you're done, they can get the puppet. I would totally adopt all the puppets. I'd be like Crazy Puppet Lady, like how there's Crazy Cat Ladies, but with puppets.
I'm already there.
So great. So, oh my gosh, it's Debbie. 2 Debbies. Tonjia, are you planning on... It looks just like you. You haven't aged a day.
I know. Graves' disease. Yeah. Bulging eyes.
Tonjia, do you have any plans to return to the world of Manos again? What are you working on? Like, what are your plans? Because you are continuing to make movies and such.
As far as Manos related, I don't know. I kind of have some things in the back of my mind, but they're in the way back of my mind. So I really don't know if I'm returning to the world of Manos anytime soon. Although I enjoy, like, making this film, especially working with Rachel and Jackey and Joe. It was like one of the best experiences I've ever had. It was so amazing. And I would love to work with them all again. When I have worked with them all again on other projects as well. But yeah, I don't know about returning to the world of Manos. I think it would have to be with them, I feel like. So, yeah, it would have to be a group effort.
Okay, I got the greatest pitch for you ever. All right, you might want to take notes because you're going to love this. So Manos, like the Valley Lodge, it's kind of like a Bermuda Triangle where things are kind of out of time and out of space, right? Everything comes together. So it could connect alternate dimensions like the puppet dimension crossover part 3. Yeah? Yeah?
I'm down.
They gave me that Doberman puppet from the stage production. I still have him, so
you're ready.
Yeah, you're good to go. And I've got all these puppets. Yeah, this would not be hard in the slightest.
They did it in Ninja Turtles.
Like Alien versus Predator.
Yeah, like, so Ninja Turtles, they took, like, the new cartoon and then they met the 90s one. Like, there could be, like, the puppets meet the characters from MANOS Returns, and then, yeah, it all converges, and it's super scary, but also puppets.
And also, let's kill people, please.
Could be.
That'd be fun for me.
I'm
like
so...
a John Wayne Gacy clown thing or something.
Yeah!
Are you writing this down, Jackey?
No, I'm not.
I'm taking notes. This whole thing's recorded, so, you know, I hoped,
Okay.
you know, this is inspiring you here. Fate versus Feld. Oh my God, Martin, that's the best title I've ever heard in my whole life.
Fate versus Feld.
Yeah, the gory hole won't let you forget. They know all.
Yeah.
Yay!
That's our little our chat group here. So what is everybody working on now?
Well, I'm doing the trading card series, and there was a Kickstarter for that, and I think they raised like Richard Parks raised like $22,000 for that, and he's got a whole bunch of amazing artists and a whole bunch of one-of-a-kind cards. But I think this series is the 4th series because he does the official Mystery Science Theater trading card series.
Oh wow!
And so he invited me to Manos, and now that this one is releasing, he's talking to us about doing a Manos Returns card series.
Oh,
so
cool.
Joe Sherlock, who's an artist, is going to be doing some of the artwork on that one. And so yeah, Manos continues. And then the Debbie Chronicles is being created by a woman named Willow Paulson, and she's already got an award-winning web series on a cooking show. And God, she's got the actors together. She's got some really cool people involved. And we would have filmed by now, except for the virus. But I'll be going down to Yosemite area sometime in the next few months to do filming. That's the plan. So
That's
it's
awesome.
called the Debbie
Where,
Chronicles.
because I think there's a lot of people who are excited about the cards and the Debbie Chronicles. Where can they find updates on this, or where will these things be released?
The trading cards is on Mystery Science Theater Trading Cards on Facebook. That's the best place to get updates on that. The Debbie Chronicles, I don't have updates yet, so but we'll be putting stuff out there as soon as we have more.
You'll post stuff on Twitter, though, right? Or Facebook?
I haven't been doing Twitter. I guess I should.
Or your website? Like, where can they find updates from you? Where's the best social media place or website?
So right now, mostly I'm on Facebook, and Jackie's art is probably, because I have different pages, with Manos and my own, but Jackie's art for the creative stuff is probably the best place. And Jackey with an EY on Facebook. It's probably just the easiest place. I have a YouTube channel, which I was so crazy busy today. I don't even know. I can post it, my YouTube channel, because I did read my book chapter by chapter.
Yeah,
so
it's
you
on
can
your channel.
whole book YouTube channel, or on Jackie's Art, you can find the link to buy my book if you want a personalized signed copy.
We actually have one. We got ours signed by you at Crypticon, and we also have a poster from the conversation with Jackey Neyman on the wall over here. So, yes, I have all the Manos things.
And then, as far as cons and stuff, I was supposed to go to Meadowlark in Medford. I think it was the last weekend, but it canceled, of course. And then I'm scheduled for Pensacon in Pensacola, Florida in February, I believe. So hopefully that will end up happening. And I'm looking for more opportunities.
Yeah, I'll after our stream, I'll take all the links that you've mentioned, and I'll put them in the description. So if you guys who are watching are really curious, come back later tonight, in a few hours or so. I'll have links for you, and I'll keep you updated because, you know, I'll be looking for the updates, especially if there's Manos 3. Like, I'm all about this with the puppets. This needs to happen. Rachel, where can they stay in touch with you and see, you know, any of your new work, or do you have anything planned that, you know, you can get them excited about?
Sure. Actually, right now, I'm in final post-production for a project that Tonjia and I are working on together, called Jose and the Hawk. Ooh, it's a DVD. It's a puppet buddy cop comedy web series. This is the pilot episode. Oh, shiny lights on it. I don't know if you can see that. But yeah, the pilot episode we released a couple of years ago, and last summer we filmed the second episode, which will be called episode 1 just for maximum confusion. But yeah, it's really close to being done. I think we should be able to release that at the end of September, beginning of October. And this year. It's Jose is a detective. Sorry, what?
This year?
Yeah, this year.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, because we filmed it last year, so this has just been, it's in post-production, which also got slowed way down thanks to COVID because everything. But yeah, and where you can keep up with me, I have a YouTube channel, that's Vox Fabuli, because that's my puppet company's name. Also, my website is voxfabuli.com. There's puppetmanos.com, which is Hands of Felt centric. And on Twitter, I usually tweet through Puppet Manos, just because that's where I have the most followers. And I get exhausted of creating a new Twitter handle for every different project, you know? Like, after a while, it just gets kind of, yeah. So that's where I am.
I'm super excited about this new puppet show. Buddy cops.
Thank you.
And puppets. Yeah. And Tonjia Atomic.
Yeah, they fight
and
crime.
Rachel Jackson. Like, it's all the things. It's all the things. Super excited about this. You have no idea. Is there going to be a special deluxe version of this, or can I trust Amazon if it ever comes to Amazon?
Maybe someday we would have. Wait, an extra deluxe version of what? Which thing?
The buddy cop thing.
Oh, okay.
Jose.
I think we would need a few more episodes before we would do that. You know, like right now, I don't think there'll be an extra deluxe version of. It'll just be streaming, or it might just be for free on YouTube. The pilot. I'm sorry, you can watch the pilot right now on my YouTube channel. It's all there for freezies.
I'm one of those people where, like, the special deluxe version of something comes out that I have, I'm gonna have to rebuy it. So I'm gonna be rebuying this, even though it's amazing, because I'm gonna need that commentary. Tonjia, where can they stay up to date with you and your work? And what do you have? Well, you have the puppet show, which is awesome. So
yeah,
you can stay up to date on that.
I'm excited about.
Is there anything?
What's that?
Is there anything else, or did you want to talk about the puppet project too?
Yeah, well, I'm really excited about Jose and the Hawk, the second episode, or technically first episode coming out, and I have some other projects, but I've mostly been acting, which I actually really enjoy. I did a short called Angel Food Cake of Doom. Tiffany Warren was the writer-director, and I got to play a really evil, creepy character in a lot of makeup, which I enjoyed. And then I'm also in the feature film by Joseph Bogley that just came out, Specimen 6, that is available for rent on Vimeo, which I also got to play an evil, creepy character in lots of makeup.
I think you're getting typecast.
And I really enjoyed that too.
And
I'm going to be in a couple of Joe Sherlock's upcoming films as well. I don't know if I can name the titles of them yet because they're not out yet, but I'm going to be in his next 2 films. And I'm in the middle of working on a couple things that I can't say, unfortunately.
Mysterious.
But you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Just under Tonjia Atomic, Tonjia Atomic. And I will update everything as soon as I can. There's just certain projects that I have coming up that I'm really excited about, but I can't talk about yet.
That's really exciting. Absolutely. I'm going to post these links for you guys later. I just spelled Tonja's name in the chat for you. So it's kind of a unique name. Not a lot of those. So you can probably Google her and find these things on your own. But I will post links for everybody. That's really exciting that you're doing all the acting. And I'm really excited for the puppet show. And I'm excited for Devi Chronicles. There's so many wonderful things happening.
Thing I didn't mention.
Oh, what else?
I think it came out last year, but this guy, Patrick McGee, he did the costuming for Alien vs. Predator. And he played the character of the alien in the costume because he's 6'8". He's a big guy. And through another friend of mine, Jay Lee, they contacted me a few years ago about filming up here his new film, which just came out, and I think it's on Amazon Prime, and it's it's a Bigfoot film. I just went blank. Primal Rage, and
that's a good one.
And played the character, but there were a couple scenes filmed at my house, so I'm an extra in it. My ex-husband and my teepee, my backyard, and my grandkids, my family is in a scene. So if you watch Primal Rage, there's a scene, a healing ceremony scene with a teepee, and that's me and my family in my yard.
That's so cool. And Rachel's also posting here in the chat her YouTube channel, so you can click on that link to subscribe to Rachel and see all the things, all the puppety goodness that is coming just from your beautiful puppety mind, which is like the highest compliment I could give anybody.
Thank you. Oh my gosh.
The felts, all the felts.
Everything's puppets. It's puppets all the way down.
All the way. Awesome. Well, is there anything we haven't covered that you guys wanted to talk about before we wrap it up for the night? Oh, and in the chat, too, please post questions.
I had one thing I'd like to get out into the world as much as I can. A lot of people on the internet seem to be suffering from the idea that with MANOS Returns, we were trying to make a so bad it's good film like Sharknado.
Yeah.
No, that is not what we were doing at all. We were making an homage, but we were doing our darndest to make a good movie. Like it's I just like to share that fact because a lot of people are assuming otherwise, and that makes me sad because that was not what we were trying to do.
I think you succeeded too, and I think that's what I was trying to say with like a remake of MANOS, like even, a low budget one, like to have someone take it seriously, because there is a lot of lore to the whole world of MANOS that I think is really interesting that maybe people miss out on when they watch the original movie. But especially when you watch MANOS Returns, there's so much there that is just really interesting. MANOS Returns really took it to a whole other level, and it's definitely one that I think you think about long after you finished it. And like they mentioned before, it is on Amazon Prime, and it's awesome. It's really great.
I'm very proud of what we've accomplished, and every single person. It was so heartfelt, and people worked long days. They worked their butts off, and it was in many ways a lower budget film than the original MANOS. If you look at $19,000 in 1966, compared to what we raised and what we accomplished. I'm very proud of it. So, yeah, it makes me sad that some people just kind of dismiss it, like maybe they didn't even watch it, or who knows. But you know what? Everybody's not going to love everything. So
Oh, sure.
a lot of people do like it, and I've heard some wonderful reviews. I'm very proud.
We posted a review on Horror Addicts, and we raved about it. I think it's great.
Yeah.
It's
also,
a good review, yeah.
Isn't there a Torgo prequel? Do you guys know anything about that? I've seen mention of it, but I've never seen it.
Yeah, Torgo Lives. That's made by David Roy, and I'm not completely sure. I mean, I have a small part in it that I filmed here, and yeah, that kind of. So okay, let me just say real quick. There in 1916, I think it was. That's when his movie was made. There was an article in Playboy magazine, a 7-page article titled "The Battle Over the Worst Movie Ever Made," and it's funny because the article starts with my name, Jackey Neyman Jones. My son was in high school, and I was like, I showed him the magazine. I go, "Honey, your mom's in Playboy magazine." You should have seen his face go white. Anyway, at that time, Joe Warren, Hal Warren's son, was coming after me and kind of attacking me and saying that I couldn't talk about Manos or do our film or do anything without his permission. But it's in public domain without a copyright. So there was a lot of animosity, and David Roy is a nice guy, but he kind of chummed up to Joe at the wrong time, and so it created a wedge. So anyway, I don't know. I don't really have much of an opinion about this film. I know it's a sincere effort, but
I'll have to look it up.
Bad.
I mean, now that I know you're in it, especially. And, guys, I think one thing we can, take away from Manos, too, I mean, Manos, like I think Jackie mentioned earlier, had to be filmed in, really short little bursts. It was a lot of work, even to make that movie. It was a lot of work to make Manos Returns. Any movie is a lot of work. So, I think I want to close by asking you, what is your favorite scary movie? Just rip from Scream here. What is your favorite? Instead of asking you what's your least favorite.
It's my favorite.
What's your favorite?
Or Jaws. The
Jaws.
Shining.
The Shining is...
I don't know if I have a favorite, but when I was a kid, I did, and it was, oh my gosh, what is it called now? I'm totally blanking. Watcher in the Woods, is that a name? Is that
the Disney one.
Yes.
So creepy.
Watcher in the Woods. Yeah, when I was a kid, I loved that movie. I was obsessed with that film, and I watched it. We watched it at sleepovers a lot. And it would scare me because I was little, but since it was like Disney, it was considered okay by parents. I don't even know if they watched it or not.
Yeah, like Return to Oz and Something Wicked This Way Comes. There's some Disney movies that are pretty creepy.
Yeah. And it freaked me out for years, but I loved it because I loved that getting scared and watching. And plus it was a story about the two sisters, and it was, really a girl's story. So I related to that as well. So yeah, that was a favorite of mine growing up. Now there's so many movies that I like that it'd be really hard for me to narrow down. But yeah, that was a favorite growing up for sure.
And Rachel, what's your favorite scary movie?
I'm going to mention a new favorite because I fell in love with it during COVID. There's this movie called Anna and the Apocalypse.
Oh, that's a good one.
And it's a zombie musical that's a Christmas movie. And so I'm like, it's actually my new favorite Christmas horror movie. And I think everyone should give it a watch because it's just a lot of fun. It's low budget, but it's so much fun.
That's awesome. And we did actually get one question from the chat. The real Manos, that's his name. He said, whose idea was it to make Debbie the villain in Returns? He said that was a brilliant move.
Oh, thank you. Whose idea? I don't know.
Jackie, I think that was you.
Might have been you.
I think
Oh,
it was you, Jackie.
Well, it probably, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, because what other direction would she go? I mean, she didn't have a very good upbringing. Squabbling
Poor Debbie.
wise.
It takes a cult to raise a child, people.
It really does. Make that a shirt, by the way.
Okay. I'm gonna write that
Somebody
one
else
down.
had a good quote in the chat earlier. They said, "Come for the fate, stay for the felt." I like that too.
I like that. That's good. Good.
Awesome. Is there anything you guys want to say before we call it a night?
No, it's a great visit with you.
This has
Yeah,
been
there's so
fun.
much love for Manos Returns in the comments. Thank you all so much for loving on that. That makes us feel good. It makes me feel good. I shouldn't speak for you two. I assume it makes you feel good.
Yeah.
I just want to say one thing, like, because I didn't know what to expect, you know, because we're making a sequel to what is considered by a lot of people the worst movie ever made. And I did have a friend tell me, hey, you just have to be better than that, and you're gold, you know. But I didn't know what to expect. I was nervous. I knew that we all, you know, all the people making it had seen the original, or were marking connections, you know, all these things. And I was like, you know, this is really made for us and for people that really know the movie well, like the other people out there who I don't even know how many people out there are that know the original like we do. But the amount of positive response that we've been getting has been amazing. Like, I didn't expect it. I expected people just tear us apart, just to, I don't know, not get it. And there's a little bit of like haters. I mean, there were haters before we finished the movie, so, you know, I knew that was going to happen. But the amount of positive response, the amount of people genuinely liking the film, people that were fans, people that weren't, and it's amazing to me. And it just, I feel like it's a testament to, you know, all of us, we all cared so much about what we were doing and put a lot of that in there. And there was a lot of family stuff and friendship stuff. And I feel like it's just a testament to all of that. And it's just warmed my heart so much making this, and making the sequel to the worst movie ever made is one of the best things that I've ever done. So.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Well said.
That was very well said. Thank you so much. Awesome. This has been a real privilege talking to you ladies, and I hope everyone in the chat will stay up to date with everybody. I will have links later. This has been awesome. Thank you, Rachel and Tanya, and I almost said Debbie, and Jackie.
It happened.
You're Debbie to me. Awesome. Thank
And I'll
you.
send you my links too.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Awesome.
thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
This has been a real treat. Thank you. Do you guys want to say goodbye to everyone in the chat?
Bye, everyone in the chat.
Bye, Monty G
Thanks for
and
watching.
Martin and the real Monos. Bye-bye. Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. That's a wrap.
Wonderful.
That's awesome.
That was great. Thank you.
So much fun.
That was a lot of fun.